Seohyun, these days language is really important, and of course, so is it to be respectful on others. So, on that basis, do you have a preference in terms of what language people use when talking to you, or even when you're referring to yourself? And does it change in English or Korean? For example, would it be appropriate to call you Korean or North Korean, a North Korean defected, 탈북자, 세토민, 북한, 이탈주민? What do these words mean to you, Seohyun?
Well, this is really nice question, by the way, and then something that I thought about quite often because I'm not a big fan of the term North Korean defector or escapee and 탈북자 and 북한 이탈주민. So my preference would be the Korean or North Korean, but it could mislead people to think that people living in North Korea have freedom to move around to different countries. And so I believe it is better to be more specific. But since I didn't do anything wrong in North Korea, I was just one of the person born in North Korea and grew up there. But I experienced the freedom world and wanted to find my own freedom. So I left the country. If I can and have chance to change the term, I would change the term to North Korea freedom seeker instead of North Korean defector or North Korean escapee.
That's really interesting. What is it? Is there any specific issue with the words defector or 탈북자? Because they're the words that I see the most. And it's very interesting.
Right.
It's very interesting speaking to you that you actually don't prefer them. So that's really, I'm learning something. So is there anything specific that you have a problem with those words, or why you prefer North Korean freedom seeker?
So, like, as I know, defector has a little bit negative meaning depending on the situations. And then, and escapee as well. I believe calling myself as North Korean freedom seeker tells more about myself.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because also, like you said, Seohyun, that you're innocent, you didn't do anything wrong, and so the defected, yeah, that makes sense. If you are the freedom seeker, just to stay on this a bit more, what did freedom feel like? What did freedom smell like when you were seeking that freedom and you got a glimpse of it? How did you become aware of it?
So for North Korean people who are brainwashed for decades, it doesn't happens like this at one moment. It has to, the experiences and your knowledge, it has to be built up in order to you get to the aha moment. And then change your mindset and have the motivation to seek further your own interest and freedom on your life. So you can go wherever you want, and you can talk to anyone you want to talk with and tell them your true feelings, thoughts, and also you can be yourself at any situation with anyone, regardless of any restrictions. I think that's the freedom, and that's the freedom that people appreciate and want to have. But sadly, in North Korea, almost every North Korean people, except the 1%, the leadership, they don't have this basic freedom.
Do you sometimes have to pinch yourself that you can go anywhere you want and say anything you want now? Do you have to remind yourself about that freedom, or do you?
Of course. Of course. Yeah. So whenever I visit a new place, then it is just like I'm living in a dream. Like I never imagined that myself have one day to visit America, the total enemy's country, and now I'm living here. So yeah, it is just like a dream, and really wish that everyone in North Korea have the same freedom and the rights like me to freely go around this beautiful world.
And you know, listening to you and watching your videos, it looks like you're enjoying your dream. I mean, it's not a nightmare. This is a dream that you seem very happy with, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really positive.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay positive. Yeah, so life is not long,
Mm,
so there is no reason not to be positive and try your best every day.
wise words. I agree with you very much. Um, Seohyun, on your YouTube channel and social media,
Mm-hmm.
this is called Pyonghattan. So I just want to go back into North Korea a bit. And you were
Mm-hmm.
you were born and raised in the North Korean capital, Pyongyang. Now, of course, in any country, the capital city is different from the countryside and things like that. It's all different. But what I would like to know
Exactly.
is, what does Pyongyang mean to North Korean people? Does it have a
Mm-hmm.
reputation? Do people talk about it in certain ways? Does it have a nickname? Are there proverbs or sokdams about it? How do North Korean people see Pyongyang?
So to most North Korean people, especially for the non-Pyongyang citizens,
Mm,
Pyongyang is like totally a whole different world to them,
mm,
and a like dream place to live. So there is a nickname that for Pyongyang, which is the heart of North Korea.
mm.
So Pyongyang as a capital of the country, it is a like center of the politics, economics, and culture of the country. So um, yeah, when people like think about Pyongyang, um, they think it is very like privileged to a place to privilege live in.
Mm.
So I think that is the another like strategy that the regime play with the people. So by limiting that the access to the Pyongyang,
Mm.
and also as you know, there is no freedom of movement, so people cannot really like um, go to anywhere else's within their own countries. So in order to get into Pyongyang, you have to have like kind of the approval letter that stating where you visit and when you're gonna come out from the Pyongyang and where you're gonna stay and what was the purpose of staying in Pyongyang, all those like details.
Mm.
So and then as I mentioned, it is center of the culture. So all those like fancy facilities and like and the prestigious universities and national the like governments are
Mm.
all located in Pyongyang area.
Mm.
So it is totally represents like different atmosphere from the outside of the Pyongyang cities. So when the people like visit Pyongyang, they are so impressed by the kind of the most up to date like the outfits
Mm.
and the appearance of the Pyongyang citizens
Mm.
and the facilities. So everything is so new to other people. And then I believe that the region created that kind of environment so make them feel that it is entitled to live in Pyongyang city and at
Mm.
the same time making the non-Pyongyang citizen to long for the life in Pyongyang. So they can like try hard to pay their loyal to the regime in order to get that privileged ticket living in Pyongyang city.
Do people from outside Pyongyang like
Mm-hmm.
visit Pyongyang, like come on day trips? For example, when we're young in different countries, we might go and visit London and we'll go see the Houses of Parliament, or people will visit the
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln Memorial or something. Do
Right.
people that are not Pyongyang residents in North Korea, do they come on trips inside or?
Oh yes, they but it is like organized by
Mm.
their entities or like from their workplaces. Individuals have rare chance to visit Pyongyang, as I
Mm.
know.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Unless they have like relatives living in Pyongyang or like they have the business purpose.
Sure.
Um, yeah, to visit the Pyongyang. Otherwise, they rarely have the chance. And as you mentioned, like people, when those people visiting Pyongyang, they visit those the places like musical performance theaters to watch the performances and trying the subways. All those single details, small things are really big deal for those people because Pyongyang is the only place have the subways and then that big scales of theaters in North Korea.
Yes, that's why it's the heart of North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked, Seohyun, about Pyongyang as a single entity, just Pyongyang. But
Right.
I'm sure you understand that sort of in most cities, there's a north of the river, a south of the river, there's uptown, downtown, and all
Mm-hmm,
different
mm-hmm.
things like that. Is Pyongyang similar? Are there different sections of Pyongyang? Different things have different areas or facilities, reputations, or?
So like first of all, Pyongyang is the as I know, it is not a like planned city, so they don't have like an specific sector that all the like factories are like located. But so like for example, the most government entities buildings are located in Junggu sector,
Mm,
which is the nice part of Pyongyang and the most central place uh, in Pyongyang. And then like for universities are not like how they are in America. Like in Pyongyang, the universities are very spread apart and in different areas. So for
mm,
example, the Kim Il-sung University and the University of Foreign Studies are in the Daesung sector,
mm,
and another like Kim Technical University, one of the prestigious university is in the Junggu sector like that. So each sector has kind of one or two universities.
mm,
Um, and then, so like most like fancy facilities and then the entertainment facilities are like kind of like centered in Junggu and Pyeongchon and Potong streets where the transportations are well like provided.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm. So, like for example, there's a like really popular street called Changgwang Street. It is a food street right in front of Korea Hotel,
mm,
and so and yeah, there are certain like streets that like shopping mall streets and then like food court, food corner streets
mm.
like that, but not quite many. And then there are like limited people who can afford those things, even in Pyongyang.
Sure. But it's really interesting to hear that sort of city come alive a bit with the universities and the food streets and the shopping streets. You know, that's what cities are, I guess. I want to get onto the education and the shopping in a minute, but just first about
Mm-hmm.
the weather in Pyongyang, Sohyun, because in Seoul the winters get really
Mm-hmm.
cold and in summers it's really humid. I'm sweating, and we obviously have here we have air conditioning now and heating and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's the weather in Pyongyang, and how do people deal with the heat or the cold there?
Yeah. So this is a question that really like broke my heart whenever I remind the air conditioning here because I personally experienced that struggles, and whenever I remind that so many people are going through the weather difficulties without air conditioning and heat,
Mm,
it's really heartbroken. So yeah, first of all, the weather of the Pyongyang city are somewhat similar to Seoul, but because it is in a higher latitude,
mm,
because so it is colder during the winter and more humid in the summer season. And of course, North Korea always lack of electricity, and then
mm,
many of the buildings they don't have the air conditioning, and heating systems are so old and they're all like out of the functions.
mm,
So during the winter, the buildings are even colder than outside, and in the summer, because there is no air conditioning, people just use the paper to like
mm,
cool themselves.
mm,
Actually, last summer, I parked my car outside and then like came back 7 hours later after my work. And when I come back to my car, like it was like burning inside, right? And then um while I was waiting inside of my car, the car like um become cool.
Mm.
I
Mm.
I reminded that North Korean people's life, and then I was almost like crying because yeah, I remember that when I was in Kim Il Sung University, studying in Kim Il Sung University, that during the winter season, it was so cold,
Mm.
and yeah, we just carried that purchased a like what is that, heater,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So our students, we collect money and then we purchase a heater together and then place that inside the room. So, um, but it was only available because we, like our classmates, they
Mm.
were have that money to afford those
Sure.
things. But people who don't have money to afford those things, actually they are dying during the night in the winter season, uh, from the like cold winter.
Mm.
A lot
Yeah.
of people in Pyongyang city, yeah.
I can imagine how bad those conditions might be. Do you
Mm-hmm.
have hot packs? I'm not sure if in South Korea kids use a hot pack, so it's like a little thing they'll shake and put in their pocket, keeps their hands warm. It's not electric or anything, but it's like about this
Mm-hmm.
big, and they shake it up and it heats up, and they use it for their hands. Do people use those in North Korea?
Not
Maybe.
many people, very limited people, and those people are someone who has the families living abroad as like diplomats and like business officers
Right.
outside of North Korea. So their family members send their children on send to their family members those like hot packs, but
Mm.
it is quite cost a lot of money to North Korean people.
Sure.
Like so, they rather use the like water packs.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
put the hot water and then use that as a like hot pack.
It's a nice segue to my next question, because when I was a young boy in the south of
Mm.
England, we used to use hot water bottles in the bed to keep us warm.
Ah,
And
I
and
see.
I want to ask you, Sohyun, about your childhood growing up and in terms of toys, because you just said there that hot
Mm-hmm.
packs weren't common. Now, when I grew up, I had sort of Transformers or Star Wars. My kids now have Nintendos. When you were growing up, with your brother, your friends, what kind of things did you play with? What did you have for entertainment, and what were you doing?
So, um, in North Korea, there are not many those like products, like
Mm.
for example, toys. And I never seen Lego when I was growing up in North
Right.
Korea. So most of the North Korean kids, they just play with the natural things like the soils outside, and then like play with some handmade the like wood sticks or any of those like toys made in wood by their parents or like grandpas. So and some people, young children, who they played those like gamers, like the old version gamers, like
Mm-hmm.
playing the what is that, Tetris,
Mm-hmm.
and then the tank games.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, I didn't have any like one of those gamers at home, so I often visit my neighbor's home and play with over there. And then I think I personally like to play those like um, with the like papers and then like painting it with the crayons
Mm.
and like there's just girls play.
Sure.
Hmm.
It sounds like a normal kid's childhood, really, in terms of that. Just playing and painting and drawing. Do people play? I'm not sure the words. Hide and seek, or like
Oh
tag
yes,
and those kind of things. They're just normal kids
right.
games.
I know. Yeah, it is also like very popular and traditional like game in Korea, even in
Mm.
North Korea. So I yeah, when my brother off from school, I always ask him to play hide and seek at home, and I'm the one was always hiding, and my brother played the role like looking for me, and you know. So oh yeah, rest of it are very similar to like other people
Mm.
anywhere else, but the only thing is that they don't have much products to play with, and then once they get into school, they don't have much time to play with their friends.
Sure. It's really interesting to hear that, all kids love playing hide and seek. It's just something. You mentioned there, Seohyun, getting into school. And I want to talk a
Mhm,
little bit about your education. You went to the Pyongyang Gumsan Academy for elementary school,
mhm,
the same as the current First Lady, Ri Sol-ju. And I want to ask you about education because in South Korea, Sohyun, education is really important. Like parents really push their children to study. They'll have private tutors. They'll go to hagwons. Even if they're rich or poor, like education is a really serious thing. What's it like in North Korea? Was there a lot of pressure on young children to study? Did you study long hours? Was it a little bit freer? What was that like?
So surprisingly, there are a lot of differences between South and North Korea.
Mm,
But what they do have in common is their value of education, I think.
mm,
So it is same in North Korea too. They same as education as they like the way of climbing the social ladders. So the parents put much effort on education in Pyongyang at least. Mhm. So, um, my only education in North Korea, so I played electronic piano in my kindergarten. So that
mm,
was I was able to get into the Kumsong Academy. So as you might know, Kumsong Academy is a very special school, and which means you're gonna have the like audition
right.
for the schools, and then you have to play it in front of the like um, the teachers
Hmm.
and the examiners. And then once you pass that audition, then you are able to get into the school. So actually, Pyongyang children they are living a lot of pressure coming from studying and competing each other. Mhm.
Mm,
And the reason I'm saying that is it is like all the way over to the college. So it is very similar to South Korea. Students study hard from the elementary school all the way up to high school in order to get into the good universities because um, there is a cut lines in North Korea too, but it is more like complicated process than South Korea for the like getting to the universities.
is it No, of course, North Korea does have its problems. Is it quite meritocratic? What I mean by that is if you study really well, you can get to
Mhm.
those things. Is there an
Mhm.
element of it being fair? So you do well, you study hard, then you pass the test, you can go to those schools? Or is it quite always based on just your family and things like that?
I would say this combination of both conditions, but
Mm,
now like the family background doesn't really matters. Like it cannot cover your like
mm,
poor academics course.
mm-hmm,
So um, even if you have a good family background and support, you have to prove that a certain like academic preferences.
mm, mm, mm,
So for example, like I entered Kim Il-sung University, but in order to get into the good colleges in North Korea, you're gonna go through like total three tests.
right.
So the first test starts from the school because schools have their like limited numbers that they can send to the next level of test.
Mm-hmm,
So through the first test, they're gonna cut off like the so many students who apply for the Kim Il-sung University and only gonna send like certain numbers like 3 or 5 students to the next level of test, and the
mm,
next level of test organized in by the each sectors, and then the each sector tests also gonna cut the numerous students apply for Kim Il-sung University and gonna send like 100 students from each sector to the final test. So, but the final test is not only gonna test your academics, it also gonna test your physical performance. So only students who are like academic and academically, physically ready to loyal to the regime can get into the good colleges in North Korea.
I thought South Korean education was hard. North Korean sounds even harder with the physical and the ideological. We'll get to there, but first you went to Pyongyang Foreign Language School, Seohyun, and there you studied Chinese and English.
Yes.
Did you have any foreign teachers when you studied there? What kind of materials were you using when you first heard English? What was that kind of initial exposure like? What was it like studying foreign languages inside North Korea?
So foreign languages, I would say the quality of the English teaching in North Korea is pretty higher than in China, actually, because I don't know, because it was a really special school just educating the like language majors, but all the studying materials were imported from Britain, because North Korea seems that English language is a standard English, so that's why they prefer the British accents and British those materials. So that was my first time exposed to learning English, and then it was quite fun. But I knew that there is like foreign language teachers from like New Zealand or like Britain and like third countries like Australia, but actually they are only available for the college student, not for the like middle and high school students. So I never had chance to actually take their classes, but I knew that there are some those foreign teachers at our facility.
Your language skills are great, I must say.
Thank you.
Full respect to you. When you, just to stay on that for one bit, English is obviously a very different language from Korean, and I have my own struggles with Korean. And when I speak Korean, I feel like I have to change a little bit the way I'm thinking, the sentence structures. I have to drop my pronouns, use honorific languages, get into that. When you learn English, was it kind of like the language of the enemy? Did you embrace it? Did it change the way you think? Or was it just a skill like a piano or Chinese?
I think I learned the language without too much thought about those details.
Right.
It was just one of the skill to me at the time. So like in North Korea, students are taught more those like direct translation of the Korean to English. So we used I said we again here, but yes, I used we more than I even in English, because in North Korea as a collectivism country, they prioritize we all the time, right? Put we first, then I over the I. So and then when I restarting my English in America, I realized the like commonness of I and in language, and saw the like differences and influence of language. But when I was studying in North Korea, I didn't aware of those like details. And yeah, it was just a matter of like mastering a skill in order to, get a higher scores and get a good job in the future.
And you did that. You got the high scores, and you attended Kim Il-sung University, right? And so you passed it. You did all that. What can you just give us an idea of what Kim Il-sung University is like? Is it the university in North Korea? Was it always expected that you would go there? When you got in, were your parents really happy? Did you have a party? What was it like getting into Kim Il-sung University, Seohyun?
So Originally, I didn't quite expect to go to Kim Il-sung University because the students who going through the foreign language schools, the pass,
Mm,
they automatically can go to the foreign University of Foreign Studies.
mm,
So and then because it is more like specialized in languages, I just preferred going to that school. And then with the advice uh, from my dad, I ended up pick the Kim Il-sung University.
mm.
But I didn't worry about too much to get into school because my academic scores were pretty good. I was a good student, and then someone who managed it, like academic performance, like always,
Mm.
like in a higher ranking. And then because my dad was a like hero of labor,
Hmm.
um, so I'm getting extra credit for that. But we are super excited because I was the first person from my family who get into the Kim Il-sung University.
But it shows you, I think, the importance, Sohyun, of two things. One is that your own diligence and your own efforts, and then also to have the family around you. That's really important. Like
Right,
the support
right.
and the efforts
Mm-hmm.
that they give. I can really feel that from you. The importance of your father and the family. In university life, um,
Mm-hmm.
normally, let's say in the way when I was growing up, or even here in South Korea, the social life is a really big part of it. So you join clubs, a theater club, a football club, you go drinking. There's a whole social life that exists at university outside of the classroom. Does Kim Il Sung University have music clubs, sports clubs, theater clubs? Does that also happen, or
I wish there is one. Unfortunately, they don't have any of those clubs. So all of the university students in North Korea, they are member of the Socialist Paradise Youth League, and the regime doesn't allow students to have any different form of community.
mm,
So it is prohibited.
it's
Mhm.
it's a really interesting name, the Socialist Paradise Youth League. That
Actually, these names has been changed so many times
mm,
after Kim Jong Un took power. So it used to be Kim Il Sung Youth League,
hmm hmm
and then he changed it to Kim Jong Il Youth League, and then finally he changed it into like Socialist Paradise Youth League. So yeah, it's everything can be changed with just one single word from his mouth.
mm.
So it is so confused even to me, someone from North Korea.
But I guess the important thing is there was no sort of theatre clubs, sports clubs. You couldn't go into your own clubs. You had to be part of that one group,
No,
right? Yeah.
not at all. Not at all.
This again, this might seem like a stupid question, so do please forgive me, Sohyun. But are
No
there
worries.
are there bars and clubs in Pyongyang like on a Friday night that people get dressed up and go out on the town, or they look for a boyfriend or girlfriend, like because that's a
Mm-hmm.
normal part of most people's growing up lives. But I'm
Right.
just curious about North Korea. Does that kind of thing happen, or?
Not quite. Not quite.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, there is no clubs in North Korea, and there are some bars in the hotels for the foreigners use purpose,
Yep.
but it also like open to the public North Korean people. But how many people can afford that prices in North
Mm,
Korea? So, uh, Friday night is not like the time when they enjoy it
mm,
for their extra social life because North Korea only have the one weekend day, which is Sunday, and they like work until Saturdays and go
mm-hmm.
to school until Saturdays. So um, yeah, Friday night they don't really like enjoy the relaxing and hang around with people.
Okay. Do do people, your father or people around you, would they drink soju in the evening? Like just on a normal weekday or something when they have dinner, would it be common to have
Mm-hmm.
a drink at home, a beer or a soju or something like that? Or
Oh yes, yes. People. drinks, beers, and alcohols. Yeah, there is also Pyongyang soju too,
Hmm.
in North Korea. So, um, and there's not much things that people can enjoy except drinking
Mm-mm-mm.
as well. So, I believe North Korean people, they enjoy those like beverage, like just like South Korean people. So I believe Korean have that blood enjoying the arcos.
There's the answer. Yeah. This is again. This is going to be quite a strange question, but how does dating work
Hmm.
in North Korea? So I guess there's no Tinders on people's phones. They're not swiping left or right, but people still, I guess, they fall in love, they break up, they get married, they date just like normal people. So how does dating work in North Korea? Do they go to picnics or date? What goes on, Sohyun, with that?
Uh, Good question. So, as you mentioned, there is no Tinders in North
Hmm.
Korea and no internet. So, um, people like either meet through mutual friends or like meeting the like partners from their like schools and the workplace or like from the same neighbors.
Mm.
So that was the most common way that like they can meet the dating partners. As I know, and then like rarely people also being um, like hunted on the street
Hmm.
by strangers. So um, I would say like North Korean men are more brave than like other places. I think
Hmm.
that environment without the dating apps and the internet kind of like motivate them to be more proactive on the street to ask girls the like phone numbers and actually it is kind of scary, but there are some guys
Mm.
like follow the girls all the way to their like apartments and kind of like um what is that, mm, what is the term, I can't recall it. um
I mean, like stalking, like following
Yeah,
them.
stalking.
Mm.
Yeah, stalking the walls.
Yeah,
Hmm.
obviously that's very dangerous. I'm suddenly curious that what a North Korean pickup line or chat up line might be when a North Korean man sees a woman on the street that he's interested to. What might be his first sentence to them? Like that, maybe there'll be some research done on that. Um,
I think it depends on the personality. Yeah, it's gonna be they're gonna have their own like skills to approach the woman on the
yeah.
street, but like if it's a gentleman, then they're gonna be very like straight. They're like, I really appreciate your like what is that appearance, and I wanna
Hmm.
be like be a friend of you. Like, yeah, more common they use the like friend term,
Sure.
and then yeah, get the phone number, but I don't think that many girls like many girls give them the actual like their information because it is too dangerous.
Yeah.
Giving self what is that information to a stranger on the street.
Stranger danger is a real thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Um, eh, another sort of, so we talked a little bit about sort of Tinder and internet. In things like Crash Landing on You,
Hmm.
that big sort of South
Uh-huh.
Korean drama. We see North Korean people watching South Korean dramas or using South Korean rice cookers. What was your experience of this? Did you watch any South Korean programs or listen to any South Korean music, or was it around you? Was that too secretive? Was it dangerous?
Hmm. Yes, it is super dangerous. Like watching the South Korean like the content in North Korea.
Mm.
So it is even more dangerous than watching American movies because they North Korean regime said that America is an eternal enemy, but actually are they feel more threatened by the influence of South Korea.
Hmm.
So they punish even severely those people who are being caught by watching South Korean media. And then my dad always like kind of have a very he's a by the way he's a very like principled person, and then so he has very like strict rules that follow the rules nothing bad will happen, and then never even have the intention to do anything that the regime didn't allow to do it, because like the higher position in North Korea means the higher risk following after anything bad happen.
Yeah.
So like if, for example, if I was caught by watching South Korean drama, I'm not the only person gonna be punished, but there is a high chance that my entire family is gonna be punished. So it is definitely not worth to take that risk. However, we cannot be in the curiosity of the, so I secretly watch it just one South Korean drama, and which is like quite rare case compared to my friends. And it was really interesting. And I cried a lot. I believe that name of drama was like what was that? It was really popular Korean drama. But yeah, I cried a lot, and I was young at the time, so I didn't have much like thoughts about the love, but I was really sad that the main character was being separated with their like parents, and then like crying alone like during the night. So I think that was the part I felt really like sad for the woman. But I didn't watch that much like South Korean media in North Korea, and actually I watched it when I was studying in China.
It's really interesting to hear that human side of it, that even though you're a very diligent student, studying hard, respecting your parents, still I just want one drama, please, one drama.
Right.
That's what people do, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and like so one time I was caught by my brother that like listening to South Korean music, and which is what is that, downloaded by accident from my another friend on my MP4. But so I was caught by my brother, and then he just like he took away my MP4. And so from this like one incident, you can see how my family members were so serious about like having the access to the South Korean media.
Yeah, no, and it sounds like a serious situation from what you say.
It is.
Just one last thing, I think, Seohyun, on this social life. In a recent video, you spoke about the Daesung department store, and that accepts dollars, euros, and South Korean won. I was just curious.
North Korean one.
North Korean, yeah, absolutely. That would be a bit strange, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But are credit cards a thing in North Korea? Do people use plastic or buy now, pay later, or is it all up front? Is there anything beyond? Is there a credit card system?
No, there is no credit card system at all in North Korea. And actually, until 2011 or 12, there was no like card form at all. So after Kim Jong Un took power, he actually introduced like the I'll say this checking card. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Check card.
Yeah, check card. So like the name of the check card was like Mire, like name future. But people are hesitant to use that card because then they need to deposit the money, right? And we all know North Korean people only get like average 50 cent for their monthly salary. So if someone put more than 50 cent on their bank account, then which means they have the like outside of the source owning the money, and then the government gonna trace back to you and like investigate how you get this money. So unless you are a stupid person, people don't want to use that check card because it's gonna definitely end up create more problem to their life.
just to stay on this one more, then is money then is like cash or currency generally then sort of kept in the house? Is it hidden under the mattress or in the books, or is it put in a bank? Or I don't know if that's real.
I'm not quite sure how they hide this money because I never personally like hide the money in North Korea.
Okay.
But what I from heard from other different cases that who are being caught or like captured, that they hide their money, like making a like secret place at their home, or like hide in their wardrobe like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, if I can, Seohyun, move to another one of the videos that you released on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
And for any people listening, I'll link these below. On one of your videos, Seohyun, you spend some time looking at the claims by North Korean vloggers based in Pyongyang, people like Gunha. And from my perspective, I found some of these videos very interesting because it was, you don't normally get to see North Korean vlogs. It was kind of in Singye, it was new, but you
Right.
sort of, you had perhaps a different view. So what was your take on these North Korean vlogs as a North Korean? Do you think that they're dangerous? Should they be banned? Is North Korea trying to change its image? What are these vlogs to you, Seohyun?
So I believe North Korean regime published this on the like social media that where people around the world can have the access to, is because they want to change their image and then propagate the country in a good way, and which is like far from the reality of the North Korean people's actual life. So I think it is really kind of dangerous to be exposed to people who don't really understand the regime. Like, so I wish that my explanation, like reviewing of these like vlogs, can help them to have the better understanding the regime. So it is not quite what is that right approach to believe what you're seeing on the North Korean propaganda videos. So you should keep that in mind. The actual life is different, and they are only showing the good part of the country and often exaggerate the parts.
Sure, no, definitely worth keeping in mind. I want to ask you just a few political questions now, if I can, Seohyun.
Sure.
You made a video with your brother about elections in North Korea and how they work, and for example, how Chairman Kim Jong Un might receive 99.7% of the vote. And so I want to ask you about the leader of North Korea from your perspective, because I understand that it might be different from saying having a prime minister or having a president in another country, that sort of democratically elected leader. What kind of position does the national leader, the chairman, play in North Korean society? How is that person viewed by the public, and is it different from a Western president?
Yeah, it is definitely different from the Western president. And the best way I can describe the like role of the chairman Kim Jong Un's position in North Korea is that he's a god in North Korea. So Kim family, throughout the more than 75 years ruling, build a like absolute power in the regime. So they depicted themselves as a god figure in the country, and their words are above of the constitutions and any laws in North Korea. So yeah, basically, if anyone don't vote for Kim Jong Un, which means it's a like death penalty for the person. So it is kind of forced voting, I would say.
Yeah. And it's not so much a president or a leader, but it's more like a god, an absolute figure, like a theocracy.
So no matter if they have the election or not, nothing
Mm,
is going to be changed. The reason they maintain the election process is just to show the outside world that we are a democratic country,
mm.
as it is in the name of the what is the formal country name.
Yeah, yeah. They give that image of being democratic, even if the
Right,
reality is not there. Um,
exactly.
from that's the leader, but then if we look at the structure, you made a video about socialism and morality in North Korea in
Mm-hmm.
terms of how North Korean students are educated. Now, in North Korean studies, I see people arguing North Korea is a socialist country, it's a feudal country, it's a theocracy. Um, could you try to explain to us what socialism or communism is in North Korea? How does it come about in your day-to-day life? Is it a socialist country, a communist country, and how is it different from life, for example, in the United States?
This is a really deep question. I wish I can explain it. I mean, I believe it only can explain a like long paper, but let me try
Mm-mm-mm.
my best to explain it briefly. So, socialism in North Korea is all about collectivism. So, as I mentioned earlier, we comes over I.
Mm.
Individuals are being forced to sacrifice their own interest and comfort for the benefit of groups. And then the groups are forced to sacrifice and follow the leadership without question. So, um, and at the same time, it doesn't allow individuals the ownership of private property. The government owns everything in the name of, under the name of the like fair distribution
Mm-hmm.
and like justice life. Now and then, however, now since the Kim Jong Un represents the government itself in North Korea, which means Kim Jong Un owns everything in North Korea. I believe North Korea started with the socialism country, and now it has turned into the like theocracy around the cult of the Kim family.
Mm.
So the way how I see it is that communism is a beautiful ideology where everyone argues for a fair life, for everything and every aspect of their life, but it misses our human like nature of self-interest and self what is that preservation, so resulting in the like never before seen absolute theocracy
Mm-hmm.
system of North Korea. So yeah, that's the whole way I see the North Korean society. So it is not communism,
Mm.
but communism definitely has the contribution make the North Korea became a absolute theocracy
Mm. Yeah.
system.
One of the first points you mentioned, Sohyun, was this kind of elevation of the we, like the uri over the I,
Right.
as well
Mm-hmm.
as the economic distribution. But the first one was that um, I imagine that it's probably hard for someone like me to understand what that feeling of uri would be like, that we over a whole population. Are
Mm-hmm.
you able to try to describe or give us any information what it feels like to be part of that kind of like we are one country, we are together in
Can you
Korean?
please repeat your question again? Like, what is the actual we like look like in North Korea? Was that
Yes.
your question?
Yeah, that was my question. So you said that when I
Mm-hmm.
asked you how communism or socialism is in North Korea,
Mm-hmm.
you said
Mm-hmm.
that there is the idea of distributing equally, that idea, but
Right.
then Kim Jong Un has taken it in a cult of personality.
Mm-hmm.
But you also talked first about this togetherness, that there's this kind of like we togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of curious because I don't think I've really lived in a country like that or felt where that might exist. So I was wondering if you could try to explain what that kind of we feels like in a North
Mm-hmm.
Korean sense.
Well, this is really like hard to describe because I was unconsciously kind of like brainwashed with that idea. And
Mm,
the way how I see is that um, it is the process of like removing your the color of individuals. So I don't know if it is sufficient to answer your question, but
No, that's it. Yeah, I get it. That does answer the
yeah,
question. That's fine.
thank you.
What do you hope for the future of North Korea, Seohyun? So I wonder if your heart and your head might tell you different things. And of course, so many people have
Mm-hmm.
made predictions about North Korea over the last 75 years, and many people have been wrong about what would happen. But do you have a sense of what might happen in the next 5, 10, 20 years? Does your heart or your head tell you different things? What would you like to happen?
First of all, it is really hard to predict
Mm.
because, like I'm not the one, like, what is that, 미신쟁이? Do you know what the term is? Someone who can predict the future.
Sure, sure, sure,
So,
sure.
so I definitely want North Korean people become free from that oppression regime, and then Kim Jong Un, he doesn't qualify for the leadership position at all. He is, as I always say, he has no quality to the lead a country, and I believe he doesn't care about his people at all. He lives for only her own interests, and this kind of person cannot be in that position. So I wish I can predict the future of North Korea, but because I don't have that ability to predict, what I'm going to do is I will try with my best to help the North Korean people become free. So I will continue my human rights advocates work, and also participating in any projects and as a like consultants to help them people being informed with the like accurate information, and by having so that they can have a like better understanding of the regime and the country, then and making a better policies on the issues.
Sure. And so you can try to help create more North Korean freedom seekers, such as yourself.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah.
many people will be supporting you on that. So Hyun, you just said in that about having people having accurate information about the nature of North Korea, the nature of the North Korean regime.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding or misconception that you see about North Korea? What do people sometimes get wrong when they write about North Korea? Or perhaps what advice would you have for people like me, perhaps, that sometimes write about North Korea? What do we need to do better and understand more about it?
Um, like at this moment, I can recall like major 2 points. So first thing is that there is many misconception that people think the elites and then the high-ranking officers, they are supportive um, of Kim Jong Un, but which is not true. So they are just acting, they are supporting the regime because of the guilt by association. So guilt by association is a penalty that like basically punishing your entire family because of your own action, or like one action or a single word. So uh, it is just not a matter of like risking your own life. So thinking of your like three generations of your family, it is kind of like really like dilemmaous decision to fight against the regime. So that's the something that hold them back from going against the regime and Kim dictators. But it doesn't mean that they are supporting the regime and then supporting the Kim Jong Un. Like unless they are completely are not aware of the outside world, and there are many actual high-ranking officers aware of the the like international situations and the problem of the system, but they don't have many options and to like attempt the new changes, and they are kind of afraid that like what would happen to them in the future once they get rid of Kim Jong Un. So I think that's the like something our people who are outside of North Korea should work on, and to give them that like blueprint of the future of North Korea, so people and then tell them that people can live well under the freedom and with the basic human rights are guaranteed world. Yeah, after without the Kim Jong Un's dictatorship.
So it's really interesting to hear this idea that perhaps there are many, or there are some of the elite class in North Korea that don't support Kim Jong Un, but they fear the punishment. They fear this, especially the guilt by association and collective punishment.
So many North Korean high-ranking officers, they actually feel like you know, feel the like moral dilemmas, like and oh yeah, another misconception is that because of the narratives of most North Korean defectors, people think that all the North Korean elites are like bad people, always try to take advantage of the like publics, but which is not true at all. I mean, it is somehow true, but not all of them are like that. There are certain like people working for the like certain sectors, like investigating the people as a like intelligence officer or the like state like security department officer. Their main jobs are like going after the person and then like checking up like and investigating the things, issues. So they are the main people kind of like gives the hard time to the publics, but like majority of like people are not that as bad as what they've been described by many North Korean defectors. And what else? The last point was about that donju. So actually I heard this term for the first time when I arrived in South Korea, and like people talked about that, like, so were you part of like donju in North Korea? And then like, what was donju mean? And then they described that someone has a lot of like wealth as a donju. But I believe that this term is like only a term that is used in like border areas. And what I want to specifically tell about this term is that it creates more like misconception that people in North Korea have the ownership of private property, right? Which is not, and that's why people hide their money, the extra money, like in their home or like different places, and then report to the country about their incomes.
I think that's a really nice point, that we shouldn't see all of these people as bad people, that they're people doing their things. No, I like that, Seohyun. This might be just jumping back a bit. I'm not sure if it's an awkward question, but I read a lot of bit, just because when you mention elites and private property, I read a lot about the songbun system and like class. And now in the United Kingdom, we can often tell class by somebody's accent or somebody's name. There are these kind of class demarcators that we can tell, that person's middle, that person's upper class. Is that kind of class in North Korea real, that kind of songbun thing? And can you tell people's class, or?
I don't think like in North Korea people can dare the test like depending on their accent or appearance in North Korea. And first of all, I was not aware of songbun at all when I was in North Korea.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
It was like just like fish doesn't a fish doesn't aware that they are living underwater, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was and I didn't really like feel that I was privileged as a like part of the elite. When I grew up in North Korea,
Mm,
I knew that I lived comfortable compared to other North Korean people, but it's all relative things. So
mm,
my life was comfortable compared to the general public in North Korea. But if I compared that my life to any of the like British people or American people,
mm.
it is even not close to comfortable at all.
Sure.
So yeah, that is the really tricky part to explain that people and then something um even North Korean people are not quite understand because they don't publicly like announce people, oh yeah, you're part of this like good Songbun family and you're
Mm,
a part of it. So unless people normally don't find that out what part of class they are until they actually face any those like disadvantages
mhm,
uh, because of that Songbun system in North Korea. So for example, I've seen that some of the people they couldn't get into the college because their family members like disappeared during the like war, and then they regarded that their her family member like committed the anti North Korean activities in South Korea.
mm.
So all those things. So they until you get into the college or like get the jobs, you're most people in North Korea they don't really realize what songbun they are. And if you never experience these things problems in North Korea, then until you die, there is less chance you find that out.
I love the idea of being the fish in the goldfish bowl. You don't realize that you're swimming in the water.
Right.
Everybody else
Mm-hmm.
is pointing to this thing, but you don't see it. It's a perfect analogy for that. You mentioned very briefly sort of going to South Korea and people sort of using these words at you. Um, just very briefly, Seohyun, what was it like? Did you feel closeness to South Korean people, sort of culturally, linguistically? Was that difficult,
Mm-hmm.
or what was your perception of South Korean people interacting with them?
So because I lived in China for quite a long time, so um, I didn't experience much like difficulties in language differences when I
Hmm.
first got to South Korea, and I was not quite comfortable because I was not able to tell them where I'm from because of the security reasons.
Mm,
Uh-huh. And then it was so like sad to find that out. People from North Korea are being kind of discriminated in South Korea,
mm,
um, because they have less education and because they are coming from totally different background. They are all like we are all same like Korean people, and being born in North Korea is not their fault at all. And yeah, it is so sad. But I at the same time I also understand that why it happens because you know like people are there are some people who are really good at accustomed to new environment, and there are some
yeah.
people are not quite good at like you know changing themselves um like to their new environment. So
Hmm.
and of course we cannot expect all South Korean people are being like patient with this slow process. So I think like it is just a matter of like both side of like North Korean defectors and then South Korean people are being more open-minded to each other and just like looking them as like babies who are like just having the first step of their like walking.
No, that is really sad, and we see lots of stories about that in the press here. And I guess for many South Korean people, they've grown up, although it's not comparable to North Korean propaganda or brainwashing, but they've also,
Mm-hmm.
if they grew up in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, they would have grown up
Mm-hmm.
with South Korean ideas and mentality about North Korea, which is,
Right. Yes. Yeah, that is one of the reason I think
yeah.
so.
We're all in our
Mm-hmm.
little goldfish bowls somehow, aren't we? And that's why you try try to talk and understand other people's goldfish bowls, so can. Um,
Okay.
just just looking forward, what is next for you. So I
Mm-hmm.
understand that you're attending graduate school. What do you hope to achieve? What can we perhaps see on your YouTube channel going forward? What comes next for Seohyun?
So I just finished my application for graduate school, so I'm not a graduate student yet,
Yeah.
but I hope like this year I can enter a graduate school. And then, so my personal goal is going to be helping North Korean people,
Mm.
enjoy the freedom I'm enjoying now here. And just want to open the door for them to come out from the like cage. And then that's the main reason um, I want to like study hard and work hard and also commit my YouTube activism
Mm.
to inform the international society about the true nature of the Kim regime and the real life of North Korean people and just highlight the unknown like aspects of the like North Korea to people because um, everyone coming from North Korea has their unique own experience because the isolated country isolate people within itself. So
Mm.
that's why. So I just wanna like help out people to be well informed about the nation
Mm.
and then bring more awareness of the situation so that we can all come together and help out for North Korean people. So we definitely need to separate North Korean dictator and North Korean people. Then we can close to the one's next step, like freeing North Korean people. So the only reason and only like evil from North Korea is
Mm.
the dictator, and everyone else. They might be some people are like committed the bad crimes like in the past, but they're gonna be like judged by the like international laws later. But we cannot like put them aside of the Kim Jong Un, which
Mhm.
means that we're gonna like giving the Kim Jong Un more like support because he's the main reason why 25 million people are suffering
Yeah.
um, in this 21st century. And I believe that's the thing that I can do well and I have the responsibility to do. And so, yeah, so freeing North Korea is going to be just my life.
Mm-mm. No, and I think many people will support you on that, and your YouTube channel, I think, which people should check out, does a great way of looking at some of those issues. I don't know if this question is too personal, Sohyun, but what are you going to study if you study at graduate school? Will it be languages still, like English and Chinese? You did all that before. Will it
Mhm.
be sort of human? Is there a particular field that you want to study, or?
So I want to study international affairs. So I studied my major in North Korea was Chinese, and then
Mm.
I studied finance at Chinese Dongbei University.
Mm.
Um, and then like I've been engaging in North Korean human rights activities and information dissemination after I resettled in America. And through those like engagement, I realized that the North Korean human rights issues are deeply entangled with the international security issues.
Yeah.
So I want to have a like new approach on that sector, but I noticed that I need professional education in the international security and affairs, and then also the political development. So
Mm.
that's how I began pursue the graduate studies now. Mm-hmm.
It's
And then like I don't know where you're gonna use this part, but like the main reason I named my channel Pyonghattan
mm.
is because I want to bring the like freedom of Manhattan people to Pyongyang. So as North Korea seem Pyongyang as the heart of North Korea, um, like there is a high chance that um, the entire country became free when we first free Pyongyang.
Mm. Yeah, that's And it sounds great as well, Pyonghattan. I must admit, it has it sounds better than like
Thank
Pyong
you.
London or something like that. It's a really good one.
Pyong London.
Not quite. That would be your second series. No. Um,
Maybe.
my last question for you today, Seohyun, I'm
Mhm.
really thankful for your time. My last question for you today is, we're all in this world together. What is the purpose of life? What should we be living for? And how can we make people's experiences here more rewarding and valuable?
This is another really deep question. I wish I was a like great philosopher who can explain this really in a nice way. But what is the purpose of life? I mean, I definitely don't think that the purpose of life is just like eating, sleeping, and going to work. Like we are only gonna like born once, right? I believe so. So want to do some meaningful thing, not only for myself but for my community. So, and I believe it is more rewarding when you see other people like, yeah, find more happier life, like with your help. Then, yeah, that's another way that you can live a meaningful life.
From talking to you today, Seohyun, I'm always changing my answer to this question about meaning of life. But from talking to you today, I've realized the value of understanding other people's goldfish's bowls. You know, we can get so stuck in our own and so stuck in
Right,
our own goals,
exactly.
our own dreams and desires. But to see other people's goldfish bowls, I think that's a really nice thing.
Thank you so much for your comment. I also learned a lot from your questions and your comments. It was really like, great time to having this conversation and interviewing with you. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity.